The rain started. And so did everything else.
New York. February. Night. I was standing on the Grand Central Terminal platform when a snowstorm closed me off from the outside world. My name is Marcus, and at 24, I believed I had my life figured out. Night shifts protecting the Pet One office complex, a 3:15 a.m. train to my Queens studio, a snooze till midday, and so on. Not ideal, but it was preferable to working odd jobs. However, something went wrong that night. The Pet One building was unoccupied as usual. A 30-story monster of glass and steel, where only the cleaners and I remained after 5 o'clock. I recognized every creak in the floor and every flicker of a defective light. But today was different. The ventilation system buzzed, as if someone was attempting to breathe through congested lungs. The air was thick and tasted coppery, like if someone had bitten off a battery. When I opened the windows, they misted up again, like if the building was breathing on me. By 3 a.m. the snow had grown so terrible that I could hardly find the metro exit. When I arrived, the sole notification on the screen read, "All flights have been cancelled due to weather conditions." I'm trapped. The platform was vacant. The lamps flickered, like if they were ill. Water trickled somewhere, and every drop reverberated like clockwork in a deserted metropolis. Then I heard a whistle. Out of nowhere, distant, piercing, as if from the previous century. Behind it, the repetitive clatter of wheels and the hiss of steam. Impossible. But suddenly a train appeared from the darkness of the tunnel. Not a modern subway train, but a vintage steam engine in red and black, with gleaming brass embellishments. The automobiles behind it were built of dark wood, with windows that reflected the light too many times, as if it wasn't me shining, but rather my reflections. The door opened. The conductor walked out onto the platform. Tall. Too tall. In a 1920s outfit that absorbed light rather than reflected it. His face was pallid, and his eyes were practically translucent. "Last train to Crossroads Junction," he remarked, his voice gentle yet deep as I entered. The door closed behind me with a dull click, like to a coffin lid. The air was heavy with the scent of ancient books, leather chairs, and something else. Delicious. It appeared that flesh was decaying under the floor. The carriages inside were spectacular, with crimson velvet, dark wood, and metal that shimmered gold under the light of the chandeliers. However, as I stared longer, the details grew more distorted. The velvet on the seats was very soft, almost lifelike. It shifted slightly when I touched it. The wood on the walls bore veins that resembled veins. The bulbs in the lamps pulsed like hearts. Passengers. They sat unmoving, a man wearing a 1920s suit with a top hat and a cane on his lap. His hands were glassy, like if cut from ice. A woman wearing a 1950s outfit with red lipstick and pearls. Her eyes did not blink. They were excessively glossy, like if saturated in oil. A guy wearing 90s pants and headphones around his neck. His fingertips scratched the seat but did not leave any imprints. Neither of them was breathing. I felt a huge jolt. The train was going. Outside the window. The black passage had suddenly opened. In its place, caverns. Not natural. Carved. Bas-reliefs adorned the walls, depicting thousands of twisted faces uttering the famous cry. Their mouths were apertures through which black liquid flowed. The ceiling gleamed. Mushrooms. Blue, purple, poisonous yellow. They surged like they were alive. Their light reflected in the windows, and I noticed my own reflection, but not one. I have many of faces. One was older. Another had no eyes. The third had a grin that I did not have. I turned aside. The first infringement was, "Don't look out the windows." But I'd already looked. They had noticed. The passengers turned their heads. Not all of them. First, consider the woman in the 1950s outfit. Then came the man with the top hat. Then there's the guy with headphones. Their gaze eventually shifted to mine. In unison. "You weren't supposed to see this," the woman explained. Her speech seemed overly sweet, like honey mixed with vinegar. I squirmed in my seat. Rule 1, do not leave your allotted seat. But was this my seat? The second infringement occurred when the person wearing headphones handed me a bottle of water. "Try it," he murmured. "You'll feel better." The water in the bottle was crimson. Rule 2, no eating or drinking. I declined. The boy laughed, which sounded like glass on metal. "You have already breached one rule. Why not break another? Third violation." Then I heard my name. Marcus. A woman's voice. Familiar. Mom's. I nearly turned around. Rule 3, if someone phones you, don't answer. But the voice continued, closer now, as if someone was standing behind me. "Marcus, look at me." I pinched my eyes closed. "Do not turn around. Don't respond." The last warning. Suddenly, the lights turned off. A loudspeaker crackled in the darkness, and the conductor's voice broke through the silence. "Next stop, Crossroads Junction. Passengers who break the rules will be disembarked. Early." I opened my eyes. A woman in a 1950s clothing sat next to me. She smiled. "Marcus, you've already broken 3 rules. The 4th will be the last." Her fingers brushed my shoulder. Cold. Extremely chilly. In the 5th carriage, I discovered another passenger's journal. "You're already dead, Marcus." I remembered the bad ventilation in Pet 1. There is a coppery flavor in the air. I had CO poisoning. This train wasn't for the living. The train came to a stop. The platform was massive, seemingly reaching into infinity. On it stood the dispatcher, a star-shaped creature with a visage that alternated between human and emptiness. "You can go on," he said. "Or stay." I stared at the train and the people, who moved around like shadows. "I am staying." The dispatcher grinned. "You will become the next leader. Now I greet the passengers. I establish regulations for them. I lead them to decisions. Because Crossroads Junction isn't the end. This is only the beginning."
Story 2. The elevator in the Vector Tower came to a standstill between the 14th and 15th levels. A dull thud rang through the steel walls, as if someone pounded them with extraordinary strength. My hand rushed to my pocket. My phone had died. Not simply out of battery. It had died with one last raspy beat, like a live thing breathing a last warning. "Damn it!" I growled, feeling a bead of perspiration run down my collar. With only 30 seconds till the most significant presentation of my career, I was stuck in this metal coffin, cut off from the rest of the world. Then, ding! The doors slid open. But not on the 15th floor. Before me stretched a black maintenance shaft, illuminated only by the flickering glimmer of emergency lighting. The air smelled like ozone and something unpleasant. The walls were scarred with long, jagged scratches, as if something had clawed its way up out of desperation. In the corner, on the floor, lay a broken smartphone. Exactly like mine. I entered the conference room exactly 12 minutes late. The huge doors snapped shut behind me, like a trap closing. The Vector boardroom was bathed in antiseptic LED light, so intense that every face appeared frighteningly pale. The air was bone-dry, scratching against my throat. The CEO, Mr. Kowalski, sat at the far end of the obsidian table, like a judge presiding over a trial. His face was flawless and strangely still, the wax mask of a man. When I began my presentation, his steepled fingers did not even quiver. Excellent calculations, Dennis. His tone was perfectly measured, even approving, but lifeless. Robotic. I should have been relieved. Instead, frost dripped down my spine. His eyes. God has eyes. They did not blink. Not once. Not in the entire 20 minutes that I spoke. His pupils were black pinpricks, locked on me with the cold precision of a surveillance camera. When I looked away, I swear I saw something move in the shadows beneath the table. Something that resembled fingers. Or wires. "We'll be in touch," Kowalski responded, his lips forming a smile that never reached his eyes. I left the room with a chilly, heavy feeling in my stomach. The doors silently clicked behind me, revealing a trap. When I stepped into my flat, the quiet hit me like a physical force. Not only silent, absence. Even the refrigerator's normal hum was gone. The odd silence strained against my eardrums. On the kitchen table, where I had placed my dead phone, it was now turned on. The screen shone an eerie blue in the faint light. I approached carefully, my pulse pounding. The display displayed my most recent photo, taken 3 days ago in this identical kitchen. I was smiling beside the window. But suddenly I noticed something I hadn't previously. A dark, smeared form appeared behind me, in the shadowed corner. At first, I assumed there was an error in the photograph. Then, I leaned closer. My breath caught. It moved. Slow, subtle, and irrefutable. The smear swirled, resembling smoke spiraling in air. Cold sweat pricked my neck. My fingers jerked toward the telephone. The smear lunged, expanding to fill the screen. For one heart-stopping moment, I thought I saw eyes. The screen became dark. But I knew. Something had invaded my home with that terrible gadget. And it waited. iPhone 13 Pro. Mint condition. $100. Urgent. The Craigslist advertisement screamed fraud, but I couldn't operate without my phone. The vendor insisted on meeting in an abandoned warehouse on the city's outskirts. Broken windows. Graffiti. The stink of rotting. He emerged from the shadows without making a sound, a pallid man in his 30s with shaky hands. "It works perfectly," he said quietly, throwing the phone at me. "But sometimes, it makes its own decisions." His eyes were excessively large. "What the hell does that mean?" "It learns," he said, then vanished into the darkness. The new phone awoke in my hands. The screen sprung to life. It set up contacts, images, and even my passwords without my participation. Then it vibrated. "Unknown number, do not go home tonight. He's waiting in your bedroom." I laughed. A dumb trick. But when I opened my apartment door, the air was stale, like if something had been breathing in there for hours. The bedroom closet creaked open on its own. Inside, on the shelf, was my old phone. Cracked screen. The power is on. My face turned away from the display. But the lips moved. You bought it, the recording said quietly. Now it buys you. I stumbled backward. Something shifted in the mirror. 3:17 a.m. I awoke to a vibration. The new phone had triggered its camera all by itself. My face dominated the entire screen. But the eyes were not mine. You've joined the network, it stated in my voice. The taste of copper filled my mouth. Fear. I threw the phone into a full bathtub. Water hissed. It kept ringing. The submerged screen displayed the text, "Integration complete." I looked up. In the mirror, my hand picked up the phone on its own. I awoke the following morning. The phone rested on the pillow near me. A fresh voicemail was left. "Thank you for the body. Now find the next one." In the mirror, I grinned. But that wasn't my smile. The end. Or is it? We are not alone. The rain keeps secrets.